What is going on, you guys? It's your girl Diana, back at you with another YouTube video. Today we're going to talk about EV training. If you have ever been interested in EV training, now is the time to do it because Black Crystal Terra raids are upon us literally in a week. So if you're trying to get your hands on the Dragon Terra type Charizard, then you're definitely going to want to go ahead and EV train some of your Pokemon. I will also do a separate video on what Pokemon would be best counters for the upcoming Black Crystal Terra raids, so stay tuned for that. But if you're new here, make sure that you subscribe so that you are always up to date on the latest Pokemon news, and give this video a thumbs up so that we can push it out into the YouTube algorithm so that more Pokemon fans can see it. And if you would like another way to support the channel, please feel free to check out the merch store. There is a link down below in the description that takes you to not only my merch store, but also all of my other socials so you can keep up with what I'm doing on a daily basis. And I'm not gonna lie, these sweatshirts are pretty cool. I've also linked copies of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on my Amazon storefront if you are still looking for your own copy as well. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into everything you need to know about EV training. Before we dive into the world of EV training, there are two things to note that I wanted to mention. Number one is that there is no Pokerus in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so you can't use that while you're EV training. And number two is that auto battles do not give you EVs. So if you are trying to EV train your Pokemon, you cannot do auto battles. Now that we've gotten those 2 points out of the way, let's go ahead and hop into the good stuff. First things first, your Pokemon obviously has 6 different sets of stats. It has an HP stat, a defense stat, an attack stat, a special attack stat, a special defense stat, and a speed stat, all of which are affected by EVs. Now, what exactly is an EV? EV stands for effort values, and you get these EVs every time that you battle and defeat a Pokemon. For example, if you were to go out and battle and defeat a Lechonk, you would get +1 EV for HP, and it takes a total of 4 EVs to increase your HP stat. I know, who would have thought that math would come in handy in Pokemon? But each Pokemon that you do encounter and defeat is going to give you different EVs. Here are a couple common examples of different Pokemon that give you different EVs. I'll go ahead and toss it up here on the screen so that you can go ahead and screenshot it and save it for later. But each of your Pokemon will have a total of 510 EVs, which are distributed throughout the 6 different stats that we mentioned earlier, being HP, attack, defense, and special attack, and speed. However, each of these stats can only have a maximum of 252 EVs. So for example, if you're trying to max out your HP stat, the maximum amount of EVs that you could put into your HP stat would be 252. It's capped at that, it doesn't go any higher. So you can't put all 510 EVs into one stat. And for example, if you were also trying to max out your attack stat like I'm doing for one of my Pokemon because I'm training it for the upcoming raid battles, and you put another 252 EVs into attack, that adds up to 504 EVs, which means you have 6 EVs left over to use for whatever stat you would like to increase. You can put it all into one, or you can distribute them semi-evenly between the other stats. Okay, now that we've done a bunch of math, let's go ahead and reset our brains, and we're gonna talk about resetting our EVs, because I'm sure that a lot of you are probably thinking, dang, Diana, I already battled a bunch of random Pokemon to level up to make it through the game, so my EVs are probably all over the map, which they most likely are. But do not despair, we can fix this. And the way that we're gonna reset our EVs is a lot simpler than you might think. We're gonna be using some good old berries. That's right, literally the things that you find on the ground everywhere. This game has made EV training a breeze, honestly. But each specific berry that I'm about to go over is going to lower your EVs by 10. So these are the berries that you're gonna wanna keep an eye out for. Pomeg berries, which lower your HP, Kelpsie berries, which lower your attack, Qualit berries that lower your defense, the Hondu berry that lowers special attack, the Greppa berry that lowers special defense, and the tomato, however you want to say it, berry lowers your speed. And I know I said earlier that each of the berries lowers your EVs by 10, but something super helpful that they added into this game is that if one of your EV stats is super high and over 100, the first berry that you give your Pokemon is actually going to lower that stat down to 100. So if, for example, you have 180 EVs in attack stat, the first Kelpsie berry that you give it is going to lower its EVs down to 100. So it's going to be a big time saver. But then after that, of course, each subsequent berry that you give it is going to be -10 EVs. But back to a little bit of math here, in order for you to lower a maxed out EV of 252 down to 0, it'll take 11 of each berry. Since that first berry would lower your stat to 100, and then after that, you would just need 10 more berries. And I'm sure your next question is, where exactly can I find the berries? I know I mentioned earlier that you can find them in Glint Items, but you can also find them in raids or the auction house, but honestly, the easiest way to find them is through the Glint Items. And there's 2 areas on the map where you're gonna be able to find every berry that you need in order to EV train. And those 2 areas where you're gonna find your berries are gonna be right here in East Province Area 1 and East Province Area 2. So these guys right here, you're gonna find them all right here on this side and over here across the river in East Province Area 2. It's kind of near Levincia and Artizone, so kind of in between the two. So I just went ahead and flew right over here to the Pokemon Center since it's kind of right smack in the middle of Area 1. And what you're going to want to do is look for the glint items, like I said, in the grass, which are just the little sparkly gold things that you see kind of lying around everywhere. It's easiest if you try to do this at night just because they're a little bit easier to spot, like this one right here. Let's go ahead and pick it up, and it is a Qualit Berry. So here in Area 1, you're going to be finding your Qualit Berries, your Tomato Berries, and your Greppa Berries. You can absolutely also do this on your Legendary. Just try to avoid any wild Pokemon and just go ahead and run around until you find as many berries as you need. Here's another one right here. We're gonna go ahead and grab this one. Here we have another Qualit Berry. Let's go ahead and see if we can find some more. And these are not what you want. So you don't want to pick up these Pokeball items because you're not gonna find any berries in those items. Here's another one hidden up here, and we got 2 Qualit Berries this time. So as you can see, sometimes you get more than 1 berry. So it shouldn't take you too terribly long to find all of the berries that you need. But I'm gonna go ahead and hop over to this side over here, which is right across the river, to find the rest of the berries. I'm just gonna set this as my destination because if anybody knows anything about me, is I always need GPS directions, and that's in real life and in this game. But you don't need any kind of abilities to get across the river. You can literally just hop down and cross in this little ditch area over here, and you're now in East Province Area 2. And here on this side is where you're going to find your Hondu berries, your Pomeg berries, and your Kelpsie berries. And there's already an item right here. We just got a Kelpsie berry. So I'm just gonna go ahead and run around here for a while until I get all of the berries that I need in order to EV train, in my case, my Azumarill, because I'm training it up for those Charizard raids. But if you do happen to collect all of the berries in the area, what you can do in order to spawn more berries is you're gonna go ahead and hit the home button on your Switch. You are going to scroll over here to System Settings, and then you're gonna scroll all the way down to System. And then you're going to go to date and time, and we're going to do a time skip. So you're going to want to turn off your internet synchronization for this one so that you can have the option to change the date and time manually. You're just going to go down to date and time, and it lets you change the date and time to whatever day you'd like. So all you have to do in order to reset your spawns is just skip forward 1 day, and that should reset all of your berry spawns so that you're free to collect more berries. And that way you can do it a little bit quicker. You don't actually have to wait a whole day in order for your berries to respawn. So now that you've collected all of the berries that you need in order to lower the stats that you're trying to EV train, the next step is to actually start the EV training process. And you can do this in a couple of different ways. The first way that I'm going to show you is, in my opinion, the fastest. However, it is also the most costly. And that's EV training via vitamins. Now you can definitely find vitamins kind of lying around Paldea as you're just adventuring around. If you go over to your little candy bar icon and scroll down, you'll probably see a couple in your bag already, like protein, iron, carbos, calcium, and zinc are a few that I've just collected for free. However, the easiest way to get your hands on all the vitamins that you need are to buy them from the Chansey supply stores, which I'm here in Mezagoza just because they have a bunch of stores. And if you scroll over here to where the little purse is, you'll see that we have a Chansey supply. So I'm just going to set that as my destination so we can go ahead and run over there. And I'll go ahead and show you what all of the vitamins do for each of the stats. And if for whatever reason you can't find the icon on your map, they're just these green buildings over here. So if you don't have all 6 of the vitamins available, it might just mean that you need to progress in the game a little bit more so that they become available in your store. But let me go over what each of the vitamins does for each stat. So HP up is of course going to increase your HP stat, protein is going to increase your attack stat, iron is going to increase your defense stat, calcium is going to increase your special attack, zinc is going to increase your special defense, and carbos is going to increase your speed. But as you can see, these suckers are expensive. They're $10,000 per vitamin. And each single vitamin gives you 10 EVs per stat, which means if you're trying to max out one of your stats, it's going to take you 26 vitamins. And if you're trying to max out all the EVs, you're gonna need 56 vitamins, which would end up costing you $560,000. Clearly, I don't have enough money to do that. It is really easy to get money in this game, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely the most costly way to do it. But it is the fastest because it's literally just right at your fingertips. You just give them the vitamins and you're good to go. So if you want a cheaper alternative, if you don't have enough money to spend on vitamins, or you just don't feel like spending all your money on vitamins, you can go the feather route, which I'm sure you've already come across a couple of feathers as you've explored the Paldea region. Me, for example, I've already collected a couple of each feather. So the health feather is going to increase your Pokemon's HP stat, the muscle feather is going to increase your Pokemon's attack stat, the resist feather is going to increase your defense stat, the genius feather is going to increase your special attack, The Clipper Feather is going to increase your special defense, and the Swift Feather is going to increase your speed stat. And if you're looking for a good place to farm for these feathers, I've managed to find quite a few here in the Casseroya Lake, just in the actual water. However, fair warning, you will need quite a few feathers if you do end up going this route, because one feather only gives you 1 EV per stat. So if you are trying to max out a stat and you need 252 EVs to max out that stat, that means that you need to find 252 of that specific feather. And obviously you're not guaranteed to find every feather every time that they spawn. So you're gonna have to get lucky and you're gonna have to search for a really long time. So this is the most time-consuming way to EV train. However, it is completely free. So pick your poison. Now the last way that you're able to EV train your Pokemon is the classic way of EV training them, which is by literally battling wild Pokemon like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So for example, here in front of Mesagoza, you'll run into a bunch of Lechonk, which we already know give you +1 EV for HP. So if you did want to max out your HP EVs, you could just battle 252 Lechonks. But obviously nobody's got time for that. I'm not trying to fight 252 of these guys, so let me show you how to make your life a little bit easier while still EV training the classic way. And that is by using power items. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is walk into Mesagoza, because once again, that is where you find majority of the stores that you will need in order to EV train. And we're gonna go ahead and head over to Delibird Presence, which if you look on your map and you zoom in to Mesagoza, you can just go ahead and hover over the icons until you find the one you need. So over here we have Delibird Presence. I'm gonna set this as my location, and we're gonna go ahead and just hop on Koraidon and run on over there so that we can look at all of the power items that we have to make our lives easier. And if for whatever reason you cannot find Delibird Presence on your map, it's these big red buildings which of course have Delibird on them. So let's go ahead and walk inside of Delibird Presence. So you're gonna wanna go ahead and scroll down to General Goods, and you're gonna go ahead and scroll down until you find these guys. All of these weights and anklets. These are what you're gonna need in order to EV train. So the Power Weight is gonna let you collect more EVs for HP. The Power Bracer is gonna allow you to collect more EVs for your attack stat. The Power Belt is going to allow you to collect more EVs for your defense stat. The Power Lens is gonna allow you to collect more EVs for your special attack. The Power Band is gonna allow you to collect more EVs for your special defense. And the Power Anklet is going to allow you to collect more EVs for your speed stat. But what's cool about these items is, unlike the vitamins, the game actually gives you access to these from the beginning. So if you wanted to start the game by EV training your entire team, you absolutely could. You just need to go ahead and buy these guys. But each of these items is going to increase the amount of EVs that you get by 8. So if, for example, we go back to our boy Lechonk, who gives us 1 EV in HP, if you have your Pokemon holding the Power Weight, it is going to give you 9 EVs after defeating it. Which means that instead of having to defeat 252 Lechonk, you will only need to defeat 28. Which sounds a lot better to me. Each of these items cost $10,000, so it'll only cost you $60,000 in order to purchase all 6 items. So clearly it's a lot cheaper than the vitamin route. And if you are going this more classic route, you're gonna wanna know where to find all the Pokemon that give you the different EVs are. So let me go ahead and show you some good spots to EV train each stat. So if you're trying to increase your HP stat and you want some easy Pokemon to knock out, you're gonna wanna go ahead and head over to South Province Area 1. And here in South Province Area 1, you're gonna be able to find Paldean Wooper, Lechonk, and Azurill, which will all give you +1 in HP. And if you have your power item, you will get 9 EVs from encountering them. So here we are in South Province Area 1, and if you literally just walk around, you're bound to run into an Azurill. Look, there's one already. There's one on the rock just chilling. They are literally everywhere. And there's a Paldean Wooper. So this is definitely the best place to train for your HP. If you're trying to EV train your attack stat, the Pokemon that you're gonna wanna go ahead and look for are Shinx and Yungoos, which can be found here in South Province Area 3. So as long as you walk around here, you are bound to find a couple of these guys literally right next to the Pokemon Center. I'm already in front of 2 Shinx, and it looks like there is a Yungoos right over here. Another alternative that you can do for attack is if you go over here to where these little lakes are and you run into these guys over here. These little flamingos give you +2 EVs every time you do defeat them. So with your power item, you will have maxed out your EVs in no time. If you're looking for Pokemon that are gonna give you EVs in defense, you're gonna wanna fly over to your house and head over to Poco Path, which is like the little path that you took at the very beginning of the game. And you're gonna come across these guys over here, which are Tarantulas, one of the new Paldean Pokemon. You're also gonna come across a bunch of Scatterbugs around here, which are all gonna give you +1 defense EVs. Some easy Pokemon that you can use to train your special attack stats are Psyducks, which you can usually find Psyducks over by rivers or lakes. So for example, here I literally just flew over to the Pokemon Center over in East Province Area 2. And as you can see, there's already a couple in the water that I can just go down and battle. And if you're looking for good Pokemon to train your special defense stats, you're gonna wanna come over here, right next to the East Gate of Mesagoza. So literally over here in the middle of South Province Area 3, where literally I walked out the door and there's already a Spoink running around. These guys are gonna be the ones that you're gonna wanna look for. Lastly, to train your speed stat, you're gonna wanna look for Rookies and Fletchlings, which if you're already looking for Spoink over here in South Province Area 3, you're bound to find a bunch of Rookies around here. Fletchlings and Rookies literally spawn everywhere. I'm sure you will have no issue running into those guys, but thankfully there's a bunch of them over here in the starting areas so that you don't have to battle against any that are high level. But now that you know the basics of EV training and where to go to train each specific stat, that just about wraps up today's video. Hopefully you guys found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up so that I know that you guys like these tutorial kinds of videos. Leave a comment down below what Pokemon you're gonna be EV training, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Love you guys. Bye!